إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Praise be to Allah, we seek His help and His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and from our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides will never be led astray, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and none has the right to be worshipped except Him without any partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His slave and messenger. Inshallah, today I'll be giving a speech from the book of Abdullah Azzam called the Tawhid of Action. First, we'll start off with what Abdullah Azzam mentions in his book. Abdullah Azzam says, while living in Afghanistan, I have realized that Tawhid cannot penetrate into the soul of the human being, nor will it intensify and strengthen the way it does in the field of jihad. This is Tawheed regarding which the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I was sent before the hour with the sword. Why? So that Allah is worshipped worshipped alone with no partners with Him. And this is part of authentic hadith narrated by Imam Ahmad on the authority of Ibn Umar, and it's declared Sahih by Albani in Irwa al-Ghalil 1269. So, the settling of Tawheed in this world is done by the sword, not by reading books, not by studying the books of Aqidah. What Abdullah Azzam is trying to say here. Yes, we learn from the Quran and the Sunnah and other books about Allah's attributes, about Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Uluhiyyah, Asma' wa Sifat. But if you really want Tawheed to penetrate, to be inside of your heart, then you must do jihad fi sabilillah. Indeed, the Messenger of Allah taught us that Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, which was the reason why he was sent, that Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah can be established in the people and on the earth. He taught us that this Tawheed cannot be learned by studying just lessons. It can only be brought up and raised through tarbiyah in the souls, through the confrontations in battles and the events which take place from the stances taken in the face of the Tawhid, through the sacrifices which the soul of the human puts forth. Every time the soul of a human sacrifices something for the deen will open up its beauties for him and unveil all its treasures for him. And it is appropriate to mention in this discussion that some of those people who do not understand the reality and nature of this Tawheed, they accuse the people, such as the Afghans, through whom Allah has honored the Muslims, through whom Allah has elevated the significance of every Muslim in the world, through whom Islam has been lifted up from a bottomless pit and placed onto the international platform, contesting against forces whom people call superpowers in today's world. Those who have returned haybah, fear, dread or respect to Islam, which was absent due to the absence of jihad. So, the Prophet was asked, and was in a hadith, the Prophet said, the nations will gather upon you like the hungry gather around their plate. So they said, Ya Rasulullah, will that be because of our lack in numbers? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, in those days you have many in number, but you will be like the foam on the surface of the sea. And Allah will remove fear and dread from the hearts of your enemies, and He will place al-wahan, weakness, in your hearts. So he said, and what is al-wahan? He replied, love of this world and the fear of dying. And in another version of Ahmad, your disliking of qital, fighting. is recorded by Imam Abu Dawood and Imam Ahmed, referred to as Silsila as-Sahiha 956, who Albani declared it Sahih. And this fear and dread which the enemy should have of us can never return to us except by the sword, by fighting and killing. So as I was saying, some people have not really understood the real nature of this Tawhid. They just read a few words about it, and then they begin to say the Aqidah of the Afghans contains some shirk and bid'ah and things. And Abdullah Azam, I think he mentions like a poem, and some of those amongst us said to them, Ya Aqeedah has some problems. Refuge sought with Allah from such baseless slander. The flames of shirk are not extinguished except by crimson rain, and can Tawheed be established except at the point of a sharp white edge? O feminine one sitting, take it easy because it's your eyesight which has the problems. Those who truly understand what Tawheed really is, what the Tawheed of action is, Tawheed ul-Uluhiyyah, and tawakkul upon Allah alone, fearing Him alone and worship Him alone. This cannot be understood just by reading some words in some books. It's Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, which was even recognized by the Mushrikeen of Quraysh, can be understood by attending a lecture or two. We understand that indeed Allah has a hand which is not like our hands, and we understand that through the principles of Asma or Sifat, the names and attributes of Allah, that we affirm for Allah the most beautiful names and the most noble attributes which have been affirmed by the Messenger of Allah in the authentic narrations and in the noble book. And we affirm all these without doing any ta'wil, figurativeness, nor tahrif, distortion, nor ta'til, denial, nor tasbih, resembling, nor tamthil, similitude. And we say that Allah rose above the throne. We do not say that He conquered it. And istawa, the rising of Allah over the throne, is something which is known, but mannerism, meaning how He rose above it, is unknown, and believing in it is obligatory, and asking about it is an innovation. And one of the scholars of the past, Imam Malik, one man came to Imam Malik in the mosque and asked him, how did Allah rise above the throne? So Imam Malik, his face went red, started to sweat, and he said, Allah rose above the throne. We accept it how it is. We do not ask about it. We do not know how Allah rose above the throne, and asking about it is a bid'ah. And he kicked this man out of the masjid. So this, every one of us memorize it. You memorize it or not, or no? This is something easy. Do you know why? Because this is the theoretical aspect of Iman, which is not right action. It is a matter of knowing it and affirming it. Never was a single prophet sent for this reason, ever. And if you want more evidence and deeper explanation of this matter, refer to Kitab al-Tawhid by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab, and also his book Kash Shubuhat. And it's called the Critical Analysis of Shirk. It's explained by Yasir Qadir. Abdullah Azam also says, rather, the only reason that we were sent, or that they were sent, was to establish Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, the Tawheed of action, having Iman in that Allah. And I mean firm and sincere reliance upon Allah, that truly He is the Creator, the Sustainer and Provider. He is the Giver of life and death. And to have this belief manifested through actions in one's stances in life. This is not just some theoretical belief that is Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Rather, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah is only affirmed through stances taken in life. And the Aqeedah of Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah cannot be established in the soul of a human. Specifically, tawakkul, firm reliance upon Allah in the matters of sustenance, risk, in matters of the appointed time, in matters of rank and status. The soul of the human cannot establish these upon Tawheed except through going through such long events of battles and going through this long journey and going through enormous sacrifices. Only then will this Tawheed start to be constructed in the soul day after day, brick by brick, and then construction of Tawheed will become torn in the soul of the person. So what Abdullah Azam is trying to say here, everyone knows Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Even the Quraysh affirmed Allah as their Lord. But what Abdullah Azam is trying to talk about is Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah. You can't establish Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah just by reading books. You need to take some action. You need to fight in battles, because jihad is one of the most severe circumstances, and it's one of the most important times when the muwahhid focuses on relying upon Allah, making dua to Allah and other stuff. Abdullah Azam continues, let me ask you, who understands Tawheed more? That elderly man, the brothers once narrated to me. One day, planes were bombarding us, and all of us hid except one old man named Muhammad Umar, actually. He looked at the plane. Well, he was bombing the Mujahideen, and he said, "Oh Lord, who's greater, you or this plane? Who's more superior, you or this plane? Will you leave these slave of yours to these planes?" And he lifted up his two hands towards the sky, and he spoke to Allah using his natural instinct. Before he even finished his words, the plane dropped, even though nothing was shot at the plane. And the Kabul radio station announced that the plane, which was downed, had a Russian general in it. Subhanallah. So an old man. Subhanallah. So this Tawheed is an Aqeedah, a liberation of the human soul from fear of death and position. Abdullah Azam talks about Sheikh Tamim al-Adnani, may Allah have mercy upon his soul, who was one of the Shuyukh and Mujahideen of the Afghans. He talks about Tamim al-Adnani here. And here is Tamim al-Adnani amongst us, and Sheikh Tamim al-Adnani on the 30th of Ramadan of 1406, when the Russians launched an operation using 3 communist branches, meaning 3,000 troops supported with tanks, planes and missile launchers. One launcher can have 41 missiles placed in it at once, all of them being launched at the same time. 41 missiles coming at you, imagine that, causing the mountain which is under your feet to tremble and quake. Mortars, machine guns and heavy artillery. 5 Russian brigades, one of which was a Spetsnaz brigade, an extremely fast action battalion named Russian Lightning. And when Sheikh Tamim was in the battle, and Sheikh Tamim weighs about 140 kilograms. And that's why whenever the Sheikh gets mad at someone, he says, "I'll sit on you, that's it." And what that means is that he's going to kill you. So Sheikh Tamim was standing on the tree saying, "O provider of death, I seek shahada in the last day of Ramadan." It was the 30th of Ramadan, the last day. So he began reciting the Quran. So he finished reciting the entire first juz, while bullets were just whizzing right in front of his face, flying in front of his face right beside his ear. And no one could believe that this man was still alive under the tree, while the planes were bombing and the mortars and missiles were being fired right at his direction. The tree, it was completely in flames, it was burning completely. You couldn't even be able to say a full sentence to someone sitting next to you. If you were to say, "Do you have bullets?" when you are saying, "Do you have," even just when you're saying this sentence, "Do you have," even just before saying "have bullets," the next word would not be uttered except that a rocket would strike you, or a mortar or a bomb, and the sentence would never be finished. That's how severe this situation was. Every time Sheikh Tamim came across a verse mentioning paradise, such as "They are the dwellers of paradise, they will dwell therein forever," which is Surah Baqarah, ayah 82, he repeated this, and he repeated this, and he said, "Perhaps a bullet will strike me with paradise." So that's how he finished the first juz and the second juz. And when he came across a verse mentioning the fire, he hurried it, fearing that he might be struck with a bullet while reciting about the fire. See this man, how much fear he had for Allah. SubhanAllah. So he finished the third juz and the fourth juz and the fifth juz. All of this in the midst of horrors which would make you forget your own name. Wallahi, our brothers, the hardest for us was during this stinja, because it was impossible for someone to think that he can go to fulfill stinja and still remain alive. He fears that he will be martyred during stinja. This was what used to be a burden upon us. So then the Shaykh said, "Oh Allah, if not shahada, then at least a wound." 6 minutes passed, 7 minutes, so on, so on, 4 hours straight.